You might think that some stories are better left untold or that certain secrets should stay buried in the past. But as you listen to this, I promise you'll want to stay with me until the very end, because what's unfolding here might just challenge everything you believe about a family, loss, and the unseen ties that bind us. This is not just a tale of a haunted house or lost spirits, but something far more intricate and heartbreaking, the kind of story that gets under your skin and refuses to let go before we dive deeper. Though I want you to do one simple thing. If the story grips you or stirs something deep within, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a journey into the darker corners of human experience, and to support the channel that brings you these chilling stories every week. Now, let me take you back to a quiet, almost ordinary house that somehow holds within it an extraordinary and unsettling secret. A house that the family no longer wanted to touch, yet had never truly let go of their past. I came back because someone had to. The house still stood unchanging in the family's name, no one else willing to step inside, because what lingered there was more than just memories my mother had passed a few weeks earlier peacefully in her sleep, while my father lived on, though barely himself, after a stroke that stole his speech and most of his warmth, leaving him in a care home 3 hours south, where years of silence had grown between us. When I told the solicitor I would handle clearing out the house, I thought it'd be a mechanical chore done in a weekend, something detached from emotion. But the moment I stepped through the entryway, I could feel the faint pulse of something still alive. There it was, clean and dusted and waiting. Someone had been tending it, no doubt my mother, until the very end. I hadn't stayed overnight in years, but this time I chose the nursery. My old bedroom, the room my brother Jaime and I once shared. The two cribs still stood side by side against the far wall, each with blankets folded perfectly, with a tiny stuffed lamp aligned at the center of one mattress, and the mobile above it, catching the slightest breeze to spin slowly and silently. I watched it turn, hypnotized by its endless rotation, until my eyes caught a sealed box tucked away in the closet behind old blankets, and a yellowing wedding dress, brittle tape barely holding it shut, with a side paper peeling away, and scrawled across it in bold black marker were the words, Jaime - do not discard. It struck me hard because I never remembered learning about being a twin. I thought I was an only child, but that box held the proof that underneath the softly retold stories and masked truths lay a harsh reality. Jaime was my twin, and he died the day we were born, the doctor said. A cord around his neck, no heartbeat. Nothing to be done, but my parents never accepted it. They brought home 2 of everything, 2 bassinets, 2 name plaques hand-painted on the nursery wall, soft cursive for me and Jaime, insisting it had been a mistake, that both babies lived a miracle, and at first, no one questioned it. But looking through the old photo albums was unsettling. Some pictures had been altered, a second infant crudely duplicated or drawn in smudged edges, like a ghostly afterimage. My father wasn't into computers, so these handcrafted collages, taped and cut. Age group even showed an empty space in the crib, outlined with nothing inside. Jamie's crib remained pristine, dusted and retucked. Even after I moved out of the nursery, his crib was maintained, the mobile wound up nightly until stiff, and the stuffed lamb shifted from head to foot, like someone still caring for him. My parents casually mentioned things as if Jaime were a real boy, telling me to say goodnight to my brother, not to wake him, that he was finally asleep. And although I played along as a child, whispering to the empty crib, I always sensed something was wrong. The air around that side of the room felt heavy and different when I stopped pretending. Their faces changed. My mother's eyes hurt and looked disappointed, like I was ignoring a presence right behind me. I was raised to share everything, the room, the clothes, even my name. But Jaime never moved, spoke, or grew. We had matching shoes by the door. Mine scuffed his immaculate 2 toothbrushes at the sink, though I was forbidden the blue one, his, and punished when I touched it. Rules ruled everything. I was forbidden to cross the carpet's center seam. His side was off limits. No toys moved. Blame was mine when things awry. A stuffed bear turned over earned a chastising. "Don't be cruel to your brother," my mother would say. At first I thought it was a story to soften loss, but then things began happening on their own. The closet door slid open, near 3 a.m., dragging slowly against the carpet. The mobile spun quietly as I woke air colder on Jaime's side, familiar with the sensation of blankets pulled neatly off, not kicked aside or bunched but carefully repositioned. A stuffed lamb left on the dresser would be found tucked under his blanket. The next morning, mentioning this, my father retreated. My mother was firm, warning me not to mock what I did not understand, that Jaime had every right to be there. I vowed silence and watched more closely, becoming sure I was not alone in that room, trying to convince myself it was normal, until school children, unsettled by the second crib, asked who it belonged to, and when I told the truth about Jaime, a shadow seemed to fall across their eyes. My friend Rachel never returned after her mother forbade visits, for no reason, and a sleepover with Matthew ended with him fleeing early, shaking and pale from whispered voices. Only he heard at his ear my mother's gentle warnings against disrespecting Jaime's space remained the only certainty. Our school days grew more lonely, retreating from friends, lunch alone, stories untold at home. Careful steps avoiding the rug seam, the closet door always locked with a key hung just out of reach. Years later, tall enough at last, I dared open it, coat's cardboard dusty vacuum inside, until buried in a coat sleeve was a pale blue notebook adorned with fading silver stars, a baby book, but with entries beyond. When Jaime should have existed, detailed milestones and feeding charts for 2 children initially, tender descriptions of 2 brothers bonded, then growing darker concerns about how Jaime refused food, cried when I left, the pages torn scorched near the end, revealed night terrors and whispered fears. The last note spoke of blame and loneliness, penned hastily, no signature, no date. I read and reread until the house darkened. The once arguing voices below fell silent. The journal closed, secrets retucked away. I never shared it yet. After that night, I began sleeping away from Jaime's crib, just in case something wanted to speak. At 11, I climbed into his crib alone. No dare, no encouragement, just a haunting need to cross an unseen line. The mobile turned slowly as I passed, casting shadows on the ceiling as I lay flat, arms crossed. As if I might channel a spirit, the lights vanished. Air tightened cold, pressed to my spine. Suddenly I found myself cramped in the closet beneath winter coats trapped. The door latched outside, pounding with aching throat, only to open on the 3rd strike where my mother waited. Not angry, only tired. Her eyes somewhere between mine and the floor, I saw a tiny yellow onesie folded on my lap, faintly scented with fabric softener. And something older, as if the house itself exhaled damp wood. Closed rooms, her voice cold. "You disrespected his space," she said, then left me alone with Mark. Scratched closet door. Mysteries lingered until the attic unearthed a shoebox with a cassette tape labeled "Bedtime" in my mother's handwriting. I sat cross-legged on the nursery carpet, pressed play, and heard her soft voice reading "Velveteen Rabbit," joining whispers of a second child voice, higher, not matching the text, asking questions chilling and strange. "Is it real if it hurts? Tell the rabbit to leave." She kept reading unfazed near the end, a whispered instruction. "Say goodnight to your brother." Paused. Then a murmur. "Good night, Tom." The tape silent. My breath caught, rewinding trembling voices, both amused and haunting as the mobile spun suddenly alive again. I left the tape and slipped away, the house full of silence, unchanged. I left at 18. No farewell, no look back. An empty car ride, university 6 hours away, sleeping through nights, no pulling blankets, creaks, footsteps or whispers, only restful quiet. Telling myself grief, not ghosts, shaped my childhood trauma. Echoing strange rituals, caution becomes fear. It seemed true until calls came from my mother. Faint whisperings of Jaime being quieter. When I was gone, he stayed in my room, crying louder daily, pleading to play with him. I never answered, retreating from home, but the unseen stayed, or clung to her, not me. I resisted returns. No holidays, birthdays, not even when my father's state worsened, or the house lingered on the edge of forgotten, until the blood clot struck, and my mother passed silently. Someone needed to manage the house, and so I returned again. The air, stale, antiseptic, frozen furniture. Family pictures, as if life paused, not lived. Moving straight to the nursery, unnervingly clean. Cribs, precise blanket, folded, mobile, trembling beneath a sealed envelope, addressed to me yellowed with age. 5 words faded. "For when you come home." Within a torn baby journal page, mother's handwriting now uneven, tired confessions of trying to separate us, denying the truth of our bond, but hearing us both echoes of cries that only ceased. When I was near needing a brother, she could not give secrets, and loss in contrast. A curled photo of 2 newborns, one vibrant, the other silent, stamped 5 hours after Jaime's death. A photo I never knew nor should have seen. And then the sharp, piercing cry from the room, unmistakable, Jaime's voice, though no one should be there. Hesitating, sobs softening as I drew close, hand upon door, calming silence inside, toys scattered, a ransacked blanket. But silent when I entered. She was right. He stopped crying when I was there. I made the bed, sat wrapped in old-time scented blankets. Midnight. Came the mobile spun, creaking slow, a sustained cold that settled deep inside eyes. I approached and reached down to the crib. Empty, yet warm sheets. The closet door creaked open wide. Lingering, previously locked, a pale hand reached out, steady and cold. I did not flinch or scream, Joel just took his hand, whispered, "Okay." Held it, ice cold. That was all he needed. Morning brought silence. No footprints, no doors open, just a neatly made bed, dust motes in glowing light. That house remains with secrets we carry. The truth is, sometimes he just needs a brother.